Have you ever wondered why someone can drain all your energy, yet still walk away feeling stronger? Why do certain people seem to thrive on your pain, your silence, and even your reactions? That's the hidden power of the narcissist. They don't just want your attention, they need it like air. They survive on your energy, your fear, your anger, and your constant focus on them. And the truth is, the more you give, the more control they have. But here's what they never want you to realize. The same energy they use to break you can become the fire that frees you. Once you understand where their power truly comes from, you unlock the ability to dismantle their entire hold over you. Right now, you might feel like you've been living inside their game, always guessing their next move, always wondering what you did wrong, always questioning your worth. And that cycle is exactly how they win. They want you to believe you are powerless without them. But the moment you start asking questions like this, the moment you pause and reflect, you've already taken the first step out of their cage. You're beginning to see that the power was never theirs. It was yours all along. Think about it. A narcissist's world is built on fragile illusions. On the surface, they appear confident, untouchable, even powerful. But beneath that mask is emptiness. They are terrified of losing control, terrified of being exposed, and terrified of you realizing that you don't actually need them. That's why they work so hard to keep you distracted, reactive, and doubting yourself. Because if you ever wake up to your strength, if you ever stop feeding their ego, their entire empire crumbles. That is their worst nightmare. And that's why you're here. Because deep inside, you know it's time to turn the tables, not by lowering yourself to their level, not by shouting, fighting, or trying to beat them at their own toxic game. That would only give them what they want, your energy. No, the real victory comes from rising above, from taking back what's yours. Your peace, your confidence, your sense of self. That's the power they can't handle. That's what will drive them crazy. Let me tell you something important. The journey you're about to take is not just about pushing back against the narcissist. It's about rediscovering the strength inside you that they tried so hard to bury. It's about proving to yourself that you are more resilient, more powerful, and more capable than you've ever been told. And as you learn these steps, you'll notice something incredible happening. The same person who once controlled your emotions will lose their grip. The same tactics that used to break you will no longer affect you, and the fear they built their power on will vanish into nothing. But here's the real reward. This isn't just about dealing with a narcissist. This is about transforming your entire life, because the skills you learn to break free, self-control, boundaries, inner strength, these are the same skills that will elevate you in every area of life. Your relationships will grow stronger. Your goals will feel clearer. Your future will shine brighter. And most importantly, you will feel free again. Free to live without the heavy weight of someone else's manipulation on your shoulders. The narcissist's greatest fear is not that you fight them, it's that you stop needing them, that you stop reacting, that you stop believing the lies they built around you. When you rise into your true power, you stop being their victim and become their mirror, reflecting back everything they tried to hide about themselves. That's why they fear your strength. That's why they push so hard to keep you small. But the truth is, they can't stop what's already inside you. So ask yourself this. Are you ready to reclaim your life? Are you ready to step out of the shadows of manipulation and into the light of your own strength? Because once you do, nothing will ever be the same. The pain you felt, the struggles you've endured, they all become fuel. They all become proof that you are stronger than every attempt to break you. And that strength is the very thing that will drive the narcissist crazy. Stay with me, because by the end of this journey, you'll not only understand how to dismantle their power, but you'll also feel a deeper sense of freedom than you may have felt in years. And that freedom will be the loudest victory of all. Do you want me to now expand? The next section, the first psychological trigger, starving their ego into the same 700 to 900 word motivational style? The most powerful way to disarm a narcissist is not through arguments, not through shouting, and not even through proving them wrong. It is through silence. Not the silence of fear, but the silence of strength. A silence that refuses to feed their ego, refuses to fuel their drama, and refuses to play the role they cast for you. Narcissists crave attention the way a fire craves oxygen. Every reaction you give, whether it's anger, frustration, or even tears, becomes their fuel. But when you stop reacting, when you stand calm and steady, the flames begin to die out. This is where your true strength emerges. Imagine standing in front of someone who is desperately trying to provoke you. They throw words like daggers. They twist truths. They push every button they can find. In the past, you might have flinched, defended yourself, or broken down. But now you breathe. You stay still. You look them in the eye, or you simply walk away without giving them the chaos they crave. That moment is more powerful than any victory in an argument, because what drives them insane is not your words, it's your refusal to give them power over your emotions. The psychology behind this is simple but profound. Narcissists thrive on emotional energy. They don't care if it's positive or negative, as long as it keeps the spotlight on them. When you starve them of that energy, you take away the very thing that sustains their illusion of control. You become unpredictable, and nothing unsettles them more than not knowing how to manipulate you. They depend on your reactions like a parasite depends on its host. The day you stop feeding them, they realize they can't survive on your energy anymore. But this silence is not passive. It's not about suppressing your feelings or pretending you're unaffected. It's about mastering your emotions in a way that protects your peace. It's about choosing strength over reaction, dignity over drama, and self-control over chaos. Every time you refuse to engage, you're not losing, you're winning. You're showing yourself that you no longer dance to the rhythm of their manipulation. You're creating a new rhythm, one that belongs to you alone. Of course, this isn't easy at first. The urge to defend yourself, to explain, to fight back, it can feel overwhelming. But here's the truth: you don't owe them your energy. You don't owe them your explanations. The only person you owe is yourself, the gift of peace, the gift of stability, the gift of self-respect. And once you taste that freedom, you'll never want to go back. Think about how empowering it feels to know that you can't be controlled anymore. Imagine the look in their eyes when their usual tactics no longer work. Imagine the frustration boiling inside them when their insults fall flat, when their attempts to trigger you are met with calm silence. That is power, that is strength, and it is yours the moment you decide to stop feeding their ego. But silence is not just about ignoring them. It's about redirecting your energy. Every time you don't respond to their manipulation, you create space to focus on yourself. Instead of pouring energy into their chaos, you pour it into your growth, your goals, your healing. You begin to rise higher while they spiral in the emptiness of their own games. This is the ultimate shift, moving from their world of control to your world of freedom. When you learn to starve their ego, you also learn one of life's greatest lessons. Not everything deserves your reaction. Not every insult needs a reply. Not every storm deserves your presence. Sometimes the greatest strength lies in walking away with your peace intact. And when you do, you discover a deeper truth. Your silence speaks louder than their noise ever could. The reward for mastering this is bigger than simply driving a narcissist crazy. The reward is inner freedom. You become untouchable, no longer swayed by manipulation, no longer chained by toxic cycles. You rise above the games, the lies, the chaos, and you stand firmly in your power. That strength radiates in every area of your life. It attracts healthier relationships, clearer goals, and a stronger sense of self. It shows you that your worth was never tied to their approval, but to the unshakable truth of who you are. So remember this: every time you choose silence over reaction, you reclaim a piece of your power. Every time you refuse to feed their ego, you break another link in the chain they tried to bind you with. And every time you walk away from their drama, you step closer to the freedom you deserve. The narcissist cannot survive without your energy. But you thrive the moment you stop giving it away. Would you like me to keep building the momentum by expanding the next trigger, setting boundaries they cannot cross in the same deep 700 to 900 word style? Silence weakens their grip, but the true breaking point comes when you build walls they cannot climb. Narcissists despise boundaries because boundaries strip them of their favorite weapon, control. They want unlimited access to your emotions, your time, your energy, and even your mind. When you begin to draw the line, when you say this is where it ends, you expose the very thing they fear most: their inability to own you. Boundaries are not just rules you set for others, they are declarations of your worth. They announce to the world that your energy is valuable, your peace is sacred, and your life has limits that no one is allowed to cross. To a narcissist, this is unbearable. They thrive in spaces where people bend, compromise, and sacrifice themselves to keep the peace. But when you stop shrinking and start standing firm, you become untouchable. It doesn't take shouting or endless explanations to set a boundary. In fact, boundaries gain their power from simplicity and consistency. You don't need to argue. You don't need to prove your point. You only need to stand firm again and again. A calm no is stronger than hours of defending yourself. A closed door speaks louder than desperate reasoning. Every time you enforce a limit, you remind them and yourself that your life is no longer an open playground for manipulation. The psychology here is clear. Narcissists thrive on chaos and blurred lines. They push to see how far they can go, how much they can take, how much you'll tolerate. And every time you give in, every time you allow them to step past your line, you reinforce their illusion of dominance. But the moment you stop letting it slide, the game changes. They realize they're dealing with someone they can no longer mold to their will, and that realization terrifies them. Boundaries are more than protection, they are transformation. Each one you set strengthens your sense of self. Each one makes you bolder, more confident, more unshakable. The more you practice, the less you fear their reaction. Because yes, they will push back, they will test you, they will try to break through. But every time you stand firm, they lose more ground. Their voice grows weaker, their tricks less effective, their control fades into nothing. And here's the truth. Boundaries are not about punishing them. They are about protecting you. They are about creating space for your peace, your growth, your healing. They remind you daily that your value is not negotiable. When you live with boundaries, you stop living in survival mode and start living in power. You no longer waste energy on defending yourself against endless attacks. You conserve it for building the life you deserve. Think of how freeing it feels when you realize you don't have to explain yourself anymore. You don't have to over-justify your choices. You don't have to beg for respect. The boundary itself is enough. The moment you stop giving access to those who abuse it, you unlock a level of strength that no one can take away. And this is exactly what drives a narcissist mad. They cannot stand being denied. They cannot handle being told no. And they crumble when they see that your life no longer bends around their demands. But boundaries are not just external, they are internal. They begin with the quiet decision that you are no longer available for disrespect, manipulation, or control. Once that decision takes root inside you, it shapes the way you speak, the way you act, and the way you carry yourself. You radiate a strength that needs no defense, and people, narcissists included, feel it. Some will step back, some will test you, but none will ever hold the power they once had because you've chosen to guard what is yours. Boundaries also set the stage for something even greater, freedom to thrive. When you are no longer drained by toxic cycles, you have space to create, to love, to dream, to grow. The same energy that was once consumed by chaos becomes fuel for your success. You no longer live in reaction to someone else. You live in alignment with yourself, and that shift is not only powerful, it is permanent. So remember this. Every boundary you set is not just a line in the sand. It is a declaration of self-respect. It is proof that you will no longer be a puppet in someone else's play. And the more you practice it, the more you realize that boundaries are not about losing relationships. They're about gaining yourself. The narcissist will hate it. They will resist it. They will try to tear it down. But your strength does not come from their approval. Your strength comes from knowing that no one can take what you refuse to give. That is power. That is freedom. And that is the beginning of a life where you are no longer their victim, but their greatest fear. Do you want me to continue by expanding the next trigger, thriving without their approval, in the same motivational 700 to 900 word style? There is one thing that unsettles a narcissist more than silence, more than boundaries, more than being denied control, and that is watching you rise without their approval. They spend so much of their time convincing you that you cannot stand, cannot succeed, cannot shine without them. Their game is to plant seeds of doubt so deep in your mind that you begin to believe their voice over your own. And yet, the most powerful act of defiance is to succeed anyway, to live, to grow, to thrive without needing their validation, without waiting for their permission. This is where their illusion shatters, because their control was never about your weakness, it was about their ability to make you forget your strength. Every insult, every manipulation, every moment they dismissed your worth was a strategy to keep you small. But here's the truth they cannot face. Your value does not decrease because someone refuses to see it. Your light does not dim because someone closes their eyes. And the day you decide to shine regardless of who claps for you is the day you become unstoppable. Think about what it means to thrive without their approval. It means pursuing your goals even when they laugh. It means chasing your dreams even when they doubt you. It means standing tall even when they try to cut you down. And every step you take in freedom, every achievement you claim without them, slices through the web they tried to trap you in. They wanted you dependent. They wanted you desperate for their praise. But you do not need their praise. You only need your purpose. The psychology behind this is powerful. Narcissists feed on dependency. They design relationships where they are the center, where your happiness feels tied to their acceptance. But the moment you break that link, the moment you prove that your life can flourish without them, they lose everything. It is not just that they no longer control you, it is that they are forced to face the truth they fear the most. They were never as important as they wanted you to believe. To thrive without their approval, you must learn to celebrate yourself. Every small victory, every step forward, every act of courage, recognize it, embrace it, honor it. You no longer wait for someone else to tell you that you're enough. You tell yourself. You live as proof that your worth is not negotiable, not dependent, not conditional. This shift is life-changing, because when you stop begging for validation, you stop being a prisoner. You become your own source of strength, and that independence is what drives them insane. Picture this clearly. They see you smiling without them. They see you winning without their support. They see you building a life that no longer revolves around their approval. That is their nightmare, because for all their arrogance, their ego cannot survive knowing you never needed them in the first place. They may rage, they may belittle, they may try to pull you back down, but it won't work, because the moment you taste freedom, you cannot go back. And here is the deeper reward. When you thrive without their approval, you don't just defeat the narcissist, you reclaim your destiny. You step into the life you were meant to live. You realize that everything they told you was impossible was simply a reflection of their own limitations, not yours. You begin to attract new opportunities, healthier relationships, and deeper fulfillment. And the best part, it's not because they allowed it, it's because you created it. This is more than defiance, this is transformation, because thriving without their approval is not about proving them wrong. It's about proving yourself right. It's about finally living in alignment with your own vision instead of shrinking for someone else's comfort. It's about walking into every room with the quiet confidence that your worth is not up for debate. That confidence will carry you further than their words ever could. So let this sink in. The greatest revenge against someone who tried to control you is not anger, not arguments, not even silence. The greatest revenge is living fully, freely, and fearlessly, without ever looking back for their validation. Because when you stop seeking their approval, you take away the very foundation of their power. And in that moment, you don't just drive them crazy, you set yourself free. Do you want me to now continue with the next deep section on living as their worst nightmare in the same 700 to 900 word motivational style? When you no longer feed their ego, when you enforce boundaries, and when you rise without their approval, you become something far greater than the narcissist ever imagined. You become their worst nightmare. Nothing unsettles them more than realizing they have no control over you. Their power has always depended on your fear, your silence, your need for them. But the moment those chains break, the balance shifts forever. You stop being a pawn in their game and become the one thing they can never defeat, someone who is free. To live as their nightmare is not about revenge. It is about embodying the strength, peace, and independence they told you you would never find. It is about showing through your very existence that they failed. They did not break you. They did not define you. They did not own your future. And nothing drives them deeper into despair than seeing you live a life that proves every one of their lies wrong. The psychology is clear. Narcissists build their identity on control. They need to feel superior, to feel like the center of your world. But when you no longer revolve around them, when your joy, your purpose, your light shines from within, they are forced to face a truth they cannot handle. They were never the source of your power. You were. And that realization shakes the very foundation of their false self. Living as their nightmare means walking with unshakable confidence. Not the loud, arrogant kind they display, but the quiet, steady confidence of someone who knows their worth. It is a confidence that doesn't need to announce itself because it radiates in everything you do. When you walk away from their chaos and refuse to return, when you hold your boundaries no matter how much they push, when you create a life of peace and success that has nothing to do with them, that is when they realize they've lost the only power they ever had. What terrifies them most is your happiness without them. Every smile you wear, every success you claim, every moment of peace you enjoy is a mirror reflecting back their failure. They cannot stand the idea that you are not broken, that you are not dependent, that you are not begging for their attention. And the more you thrive, the more their mask slips, revealing the emptiness they've been hiding all along. This is why your growth is so powerful. Every step forward is not just progress for you. It is a declaration that you are untouchable. Your healing, your peace, your strength all become proof that they have no control left. And while they may try to pull you back, while they may lash out in desperation, their efforts are meaningless because you've already outgrown them. You no longer exist in their world of games. You've stepped into your own world, a higher place they cannot reach. The reward of becoming their nightmare is not just watching their control dissolve, It is feeling your own freedom expand. You begin to understand that your life was never meant to be lived in someone else's shadow. You were meant to rise, to create, to love, to live fully. And the moment you embrace that truth, you no longer look back. You stop fighting small battles and start focusing on the life ahead of you. That is the ultimate victory. What makes this so powerful is that your strength does not require their destruction. You don't have to tear them down. You don't have to seek revenge. The simple act of living in your truth is enough, because the greatest punishment for someone who tried to control you is realizing you are beyond their reach. The greatest punishment is your silence, your peace, your joy, your refusal to play their game. That is what drives them crazy. So step fully into that power. Walk boldly in your freedom. Speak with clarity, act with purpose, live with joy. Show yourself every day that their voice no longer defines you. Show them, without even trying, that their grip is gone. This is the highest form of strength. Not to destroy them, but to build a life so unshakable, so radiant, so free, that their absence doesn't even leave a shadow. And here is the truth they will never admit. They fear you more than you ever feared them. They fear your independence. They fear your self-worth. They fear your happiness. Because those are things they will never truly have, but you do. And the moment you embrace them, you don't just live free. You live as the very thing they cannot control, cannot silence, and cannot destroy. You live as their nightmare. And at the same time, you live as your own greatest victory. Would you like me to now carry this momentum into a new additional section on reclaiming peace and building an unstoppable future in the same 700 to 900 word motivational style? Freedom from their grip is not the end of the story. It is the beginning of something far greater. Once you no longer bend under their control, once you no longer feed their ego, once you no longer live for their approval, you step into a new reality, a life where peace is not just a fleeting moment, but the foundation you stand on. A life where your energy is not drained by constant battles, but invested in growth, purpose, and joy. This is the reward the narcissist never wanted you to find. This is the future they feared you would build. Reclaiming peace is not about escape, it is about construction. It is about intentionally creating a life that reflects your true worth. For too long, they tried to convince you that peace was impossible without their presence. They made you believe you needed their validation to feel secure, their attention to feel alive. But now you see the truth. Peace is not something given by them. It is something you claim within yourself. And once you claim it, no one can take it away. Peace begins with silence inside your own mind. The constant noise of self-doubt, the endless replay of their words, the fear of their judgment, it all begins to fade as you take control of your thoughts. You learn to separate their lies from your truth. You begin to hear your own voice again. And that voice, once buried under years of manipulation, grows stronger with every choice you make in alignment with your own values. But peace is not passive. Peace is strength under control. It is the calmness that comes when you know who you are and no longer need to prove it. It is the courage to stand firm without being shaken by chaos around you. It is the confidence to walk away from anything that disturbs your soul. This kind of peace is power, and it terrifies anyone who once thrived on your turmoil. Because they can no longer reach you, they can no longer pull you back into the storms they create. From this place of peace, you begin to build an unstoppable future. Every boundary you set creates room for new opportunities. Every ounce of energy you no longer waste on toxic cycles becomes fuel for your dreams. You start to invest in yourself, in your health, your growth, your passions. You rediscover parts of you that were buried under the weight of their control. And step by step, you begin to design a life that reflects the person you were always meant to be. This is the moment where transformation becomes undeniable. You stop defining yourself by what you've endured and start defining yourself by what you're creating. You stop carrying the identity of a survivor and start living as a builder, a creator, a visionary of your own destiny. And with every choice you make toward your future, you move further away from the chains they tried to wrap around you. The beauty of this future is that it doesn't depend on perfection. It doesn't require you to have everything figured out. It only requires you to keep moving forward, to keep choosing growth over fear, to keep choosing self-respect over old patterns. The future is not built in one leap. It is built brick by brick, decision by decision, action by action. And with each step, your confidence grows. What makes this future unstoppable is not just what you achieve, but who you become in the process. You become someone who cannot be manipulated, someone who cannot be silenced, Someone who knows their worth so deeply that no amount of criticism can shake it. That is strength. That is freedom. That is the life that once felt impossible, but is now within your reach. And here is the truth that should ignite a fire in your soul. The very pain you endured is now the foundation of your power. The struggles, the battles, the wounds, they all shaped you into someone unbreakable. You are not weaker because of what you went through. You are stronger, wiser, and more resilient. And that resilience will carry you into a future brighter than anything they could ever imagine. So step boldly into this new chapter. Guard your peace as the treasure it is. Invest in your growth with everything you have. Walk with the certainty that your life belongs to you and no one else. Because the greatest victory is not just escaping their control, it is building a future so powerful, so unshakable, so filled with purpose, that their memory becomes nothing more than a shadow behind you. This is the life you deserve. This is the destiny that was always waiting for you. And the moment you choose it fully, you rise into the unstoppable force you were always meant to be. Would you like me to continue shaping this series into a final closing section that ties all the triggers together in a high-intensity conclusion, giving the audience a lasting surge of empowerment?